Hey guys, you're watching Keeping It Real with Vasavi, where I keep it real all day, every day, even when I don't want to. I have the cheesiest smile on my face right now because my friend Sarah, who lives right here in Kansas City, came to visit, stop by, have some girl talk, and I want you guys to go check her out because she's a marketing mastermind. She helps entrepreneurs and coaches get their message out there. So go to her website at saralizdavidson.com. And so Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Not that I actually would ever say that to you, Sarah. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, it's just like how we usually hang out, right?
So I know that part of why I wanted to have you here is because I wanted to switch things up a little bit. And, you know, I'm sick of talking to the camera. No offense, guys. I love you guys, but I actually love human interaction more than anything. So I know you have a question for me. I have no idea what that question is. So just shoot, baby.
Okay, so I want to ask you this because it's something that, and we've had conversations, but about something I've really struggled with a lot, which is vulnerability. And it's something that I realized that I've actually had a hard time opening up to people and, you know, really sharing my deepest desires, my fears, and a lot of who I am, whether that's because I feel like people don't really understand me or they might judge me for sharing those type of things, or they don't get me. And also because some of the people that I've actually been vulnerable with I've lost as friends. So I've gotten burned by them. And so it kind of scared me to be that authentic and really show up. And so I guess my question is, how do you overcome that fear of being vulnerable? And what are the benefits of being authentic and, you know, actually letting people know who you are?
So as you're asking me this question, I was just thinking to myself, I still struggle with that every single day. Being vulnerable for me is probably the hardest thing. It is a practice. I mean, you know, even when I'm doing these videos, you know that like Justin, you know, my producer, he's always like, you know, Vasavi, you gotta be more vulnerable. And even to this day, it's still scary because I still always worry, what if you don't get me? What if you're judging me? And the number one fear that I have is, what if you don't like me, right? That is like what if you don't like me, right? So, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of benefits, but I just want to ask you, I mean, have you had experiences where you have actually been vulnerable and it's been safe for you to be vulnerable? Like, have you actually experienced vulnerability with your girlfriends and you've seen like, oh, it's really not that scary?
So recently I joined a mastermind group that I actually, and I've have a group of loving, supportive, non-judgmental girlfriends that have created this safe space for me to share my deepest secrets that I never thought that I could, you know, share with anyone. And what I found is by actually doing that, you know, starting there and not just starting with people that, you know, I'm really nervous to do that and not posting it on Facebook, but I have a lot more deeper friendships. But, you know, at the time when I was sharing that, like, I was too scared to be vulnerable enough to share that I was too scared to be vulnerable, if that makes sense.
It does. And you know what I was just thinking about? Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. So she talks about, and it was like, it's so obvious, but when I read this, I was like, oh, she talks about trust needs to be earned, right? It's like common sense, but for me being in this field, and I know you know, getting out there and helping people, for me, I always thought I had to be vulnerable all the time with everybody, and I had to kind of tell everybody everything about my life. What I read in the book was that trust needs to be earned, and not everybody's ready or has the emotional capacity to be with all of you. So maybe it's not a matter of I need to be vulnerable all the time. Maybe it's, you know what, the people that do get to be who do get to experience you vulnerable, I mean, those people have earned your trust, and not everybody has earned that, and your vulnerability is a gift.
And it's a choice that you can choose to take those friendships deeper, right? And refuse to have surface deep relationships.
Yeah, I mean, come on, we know this. And I think you told me your mentor, Nisha Moodley, said this, that you can have kale friendships or you could have like romaine lettuce or iceberg.
Yep.
Iceberg, right?
And it's just choose to make those friendships more kale-like, which means just dig under the surface. And for me, I had friendships where I was too scared to show up. And then once I did, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know like that you wanted to talk about this stuff. I thought that you were too, you know, just wanted to not talk about that intimate, those secrets or different things like that. But the second I did that, you know, I think it took our friendship to the next level.
But I gotta say, and hold on, I just want to interrupt. So guys, Sarah and I were just talking about there are two types of friendships that her mentor Nisha Moodley once, you know, taught her about was kale. You know, kale is like rich, dark leafy greens that are like full of iron and oxidants, and then you have like iceberg, which is pure water. And like, no offense to iceberg, it's just pure water though. It does nothing for me. So you can have kale friendships, which is like deep, substantial relationships, or iceberg, which is really surface, like, oh my God, let's go out and like hang out. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about having deep relationships. The other thing that I was just thinking about vulnerability though, I think that the most vulnerable thing that anybody can do is, no matter how scary it is, to just show up as yourself. And just, you know what? I mean, not everybody's gonna get you, right? I know you know people who you've shown up as Sarah Davidson and people just don't get you. That's not your problem though, right? So, I mean, have you done that? Have you shown up as yourself? And what has been the experience for some people who have just met you and you just show up as yourself? What's that like?
So in the past, have always felt more comfortable talking about marketing and business and like that type of stuff. But I started integrating more personal information about me, you know, like my own interests and like, you know, all the stuff that I'm building, and also a lot of the stuff that I've been going through. You know, it's been a year of personal growth. And what I realized is, some people don't like hearing that, and that's fine. But the ones that really do, that we have a more deeper friendship, and it's more substantial and meaningful. So.
I'm so glad you said that about how maybe in the past with
like you.
Yeah. I know. I'm so glad that you said that about talking about marketing, because in the book Daring Greatly, she talks about our shields. So it sounds like for you, when you're talking about that thing that you do, you know, your external accomplishment,
that you're comfortable talking
right,
about.
Like you can talk about marketing. That's easy. That doesn't require anybody to actually get to know you. It's the same thing with me when I talk about, like, let's take action. This is what you need to do. Like, that's my that's my shield, right? But what the hardest thing for me is, I'm so glad you talked about this, because it is a work in progress. It's scary as hell to show up as yourself every single day, and it is a practice and a work in progress. But if you know that that's your shield, I think the greatest gift that you can give to the people around you, but more importantly yourself, you know, so you don't have to feel like you have to be shielded all the time, is to share those things about yourself that most people might not get to know.
And you'll attract people that authentically love you for you, right?
Absolutely. So I just want to say thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Looking so pretty in your purple pussycat. Guys, there's like cats on this dress. There's like pussycats on this dress. I love it. And so just thank you so much for asking this question, because I know so many of my viewers struggle with this every single day. How can I show up as myself? What about what other people think about me? So this is such a relevant question, and it's a work in progress. I can tell you that right now. So just thank you so much for being vulnerable.
Thanks for having me.
So, guys, if you like today's free weekly Keeping It Real video, go over to my website at vasavikumar.com. And also, I do want to hear from you. Have you ever struggled with vulnerability, showing up as yourself in front of people, and being afraid of what other people think of you? How do you try to show up authentically as yourself each and every day? I know it's hard. We just talked about how hard it is to actually show up as yourself and really not worry about what other people have to think. But ultimately, the greatest gift that you can give yourself and the people that you surround yourself with is you showing up as 100% you. So I want to hear from you in the comments below. And if you like today's video, go over to my website, vasavikumar.com. And if you want to pay it forward, please pay it forward to a friend. And until next time, keep it real.